Hello, and welcome to the course Adobe Photoshop CC from A to Z, beginner to master. If you don't know how to use Photoshop or you want to improve your skills in Photoshop, then join this course. This course is for everyone. Students, engineers, science, commerce, business people, and job holders. In this course, I will not only introduce each tool one by one, but I will also demonstrate how to use them. When you finish this course, you will be ready to edit all aspects of your images in a professional way. This course will be fun, exciting, and you will learn so much. Join this course today with a Here I have opened Adobe Photoshop CC latest version, and it looks something like this when you double click on the Photoshop icon. If you're using an older version like CS5 or CS6, you can skip this. Adobe CC is a modern version of Photoshop. It is more appealing and modern in the sense of looks and tools. This, of course, helps us to complete our work quickly. Okay, let's overview the Photoshop window that opens after double-clicking on the Photoshop icon. Okay, you can see we have a different project list open than I've worked with in past projects. If you're using Photoshop CC for the first time, then a project will not appear. We have here the List View icon. We can view our project in lists, or we can view in thumbnail format. The benefit of these projects appearing here is we don't need to go back in the window and search for where the file was saved. You only need to double click on any file you want to work on and save it where you want. We can also sort files by name, size, and kind here. And just type the file name here in the Filter tab to open it. Okay, next we have CC Creative Cloud files we can open. And we also have the option of Adobe Lightroom. If we have Adobe Lightroom files, we can open them from here. Okay, next we have Create New Document option and Open option. Create New Document means we can open a new document. That is the tab where we can start a new project. We'll talk about that later. First, we'll talk about the Open option. Open option is used to open a Photoshop file or any image or any Photoshop file supported directly from your window. For example, if you click on it, we can now open these pictures by selecting any of them by clicking the Open tab. And also, we can open any specific file from that list option. And that is very, very cool. Okay, let's cancel it. And now, let's click on Create New Document. Now we can see we have a lot of options here in the latest version of Adobe CC. And that is a big advantage of this version. We can create documents according to our needs and requirements. For example, if you want to work the project for web, print, mobile, film, video, and photos, we can choose from here easily. Okay, let's do an overview of this window. So now we have a recent option here. If you have worked recently, then the document will appear here, and we can open it, choosing any of them. Okay, next we have saved options. If you have any saved document, we can open it from here. Okay, next we have the Photo tab option. Here we have a default Photoshop document size that is 7 by 5 inches and 300 ppi. PPI means pixels per inches. Photoshop works based on pixels, basically. This defines the quality of the image. For example, if we want high quality, we can use high PPI. And if we want low quality, we can decrease the quality. 300 PPI is mostly used for general printing, like brochures, flyers, and business cards. For the web, we mostly use lower than 300 PPI. We can also see here the landscape options and portrait size options. You can choose any of them and click on Create to open it. Okay, on the right-hand side, we have the option of preset details. That means we can create new documents according to size requirements or PPI requirements. This is also called a custom document. Okay, here is the preset detail. We can put any name on our document here, something like that, for example. And here on this icon, we can save the document. Let's click on it. We can put any name here and save it. We can see on our document, it is now saved in the Save tab, and we can open this document at any time. Okay, now we have a width and height option here. We can put any specific size that we want to open the new document in. We can also choose from size unit, pixels, inches, centimeter, millimeter, anything like that. Okay, next, we have the page orientation option. We can choose any landscape option or portrait option from here as well. Next, we have the artboard option. Basically, artboard means we can create different layers in the document. For example, Notebook has different pages, and Photoshop also has different pages, but they are called layers. Okay, we have a resolution option here. We can adjust the resolution. 300 is best for printing, and 150, 72, or 100 can be used for web graphics, but it can be changed according to our requirements. Okay. Next, we have the pixels per inches or pixels per centimeter option. We can choose any of them. Okay. Next, we have the color mode option. We have bitmap option. Bitmap basically is used for photographical quality images. It can be very useful. Next, we have the grayscale option. Grayscale will only read black and white images. Any colorful image you will open with this option will be converted into grayscale. Okay, RGB means red, green, and blue colors. That color mode is mostly used for the web, but we can use it for print also, sometimes. Okay, next we have CMYK color option. CMYK means cyan, magenta, yellow, and key. This color mode is used for printing purposes. Most of the print houses use CMYK color mode, but some print houses use RGB color mode. Next, we have lab color mode. Lab color mode expresses three values: L for the lightness from black to white, A from green to red, and B from blue to yellow. These color combinations are the ones that define lab color mode. This mode is not normally used for print or web, but it can be very helpful to create graphics. Okay, next we have the bit option. 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit. These are the color settings. 8-bit is mostly used, but for very high and large-scale graphics like films and movies, 16 and 32 is used. Okay, next we have the document background option. We can change it by clicking on it. And next, we have advanced settings. We can change the color mode option here. My suggestion is RGB 1998. and we will look at the next pixel aspect ratio. Just keep it as default. Okay, next we have a print option, art and illustration option, web, mobile, film, and video options. We can choose any of them. They all have default settings you can customize according to size in pixels. For example, for print sizes, we have letter, legal, A4, A6, and A5 options. Art and Illustrator options, poster, postcard size, and next we have web options here. For mobile, we have iPhone screen size graphics options, and next we have film and video options. These are all options that are very, very cool. This is the big advantage of Adobe Photoshop CC latest version. Okay, now you can choose any document, click on Create, and you're ready to start working on your Photoshop document now. Okay, in the next exercise, we will learn step-by-step techniques that will help you start Photoshop for the first time with no experience. These techniques will help you learn what tools are needed to know first, and then you can become a master in Photoshop very easily. Just follow me and give me your attention and listen to our exercise lectures. Thank you, and see you in the next exercise. In this exercise, we will learn the basic workflow after opening the document, and it will appear something like this. Okay, we can see on the left side we have many tools here, and these tools are the main ones, and they're a very, very important part of Photoshop. And here we can see a little arrow key. We can click on it to expand the tools in one column or in two columns. We can adjust it easily. If we don't see the tool options bar, then go to the window menu and select tools from there. Okay, we have the control option bar, and every tool has its own control option, and that will appear here. If we don't see it, then go to the window menu, and here we can choose this option. In the window menu, we can show or hide any tool very easily. Okay, on the right hand, we have some panels. We can click here to expand them, or we can hide them by clicking on this little arrow key. And we can separate each panel easily. We can just click and drag it to separate, like this. And then we can move it back, something like this. You see, we can adjust each panel very easily. If we don't see layer options, then we can go to the window menu and click on layer to bring it forward. And here we have color and swatches panel. We can also separate them like this. If we don't see these panels, then go to the window menu, and here we can see these. If we want to click on any panel, then click on it. Then we can close it. Okay, now here we can see a little icon. Just click on it. We can see the workspace window options, and we can choose any of them. If we want to work on a 3D type of work, then we can choose the 3D option, something like this. And if we want to work with graphics and web, then choose this option. And we can use this for motion, printing, and for photography. We can choose any of them. There's not a big difference between these types. Each and every workspace will have the same tools for all. The only difference will be that the view mode will be changed so that it is personalized to the job that you need to complete. And below, we can see the recent graphic and web options. That means that if we do anything wrong, make any mistakes, and things don't go the way that you want them to, you just click on the reset option to bring your setting to default so that you can start again. All right, now we have the menu bar, File, Edit, Image, Layer window, and Help. If we want to start a new project, we can click on File and New. And here we can select the size and option. Then click on Create to start a new project now. We can open a Photoshop or image file by clicking on Open. Photoshop is an amazing software for graphic use and editing images. Each and every tool is easy to use. Thank you. In this exercise, we will learn the Move tool. The Move tool is basically used for moving subjects around an image. Okay, if I move my arrow key on the toolbar, and here we can see the Move tool. If my arrow hovers over on it, we can see a little guide tip. This will actually show us how we can move any subject. If I click right on it, we can see here we have also the V shortcut key. We can press V to select the Move tool. Okay, I have drawn a shape here for us to better understand how this tool will work. Okay, if I left click on this shape, we can see our subject is selected, and in our layer panel, it is also selected. Okay, now if we left click and drag it, something like this. Okay, let's see some more options of the Move tool. We can see above here is the Control option bar. The Control option is basically what gives us control of each and every tool to handle our tasks easily and professionally. One thing to keep in mind is that each and every tool in the toolbar has its own control options. For example, if I click on this tool, we can see above its control option, and of this tool, and this tool, and that is very, very cool. Okay, now select the Move tool, and we can see here there is an Auto Select option. The Auto Select option works when we have two or more subjects in the layers. For example, I will draw here another shape. Here, something like that. And notice that we have the check mark on in the Auto Select option. If I click on any subject, we can easily select any subject and can move it. Okay, if I check this off, then we are unable to select another object. So, we have another shortcut here. If you want to select another subject and our control option is off, if you press and hold the control key, we can see above our check mark is on, and when I release the control key, our check mark is off. Okay, now let's press and hold control. We can now click any subject and drag it around very easily. And that is very, very cool. Okay, next we have Group and Layer option. For example, to understand this easily, we can say that Group is Notebook and Layers have different pages in the notebook. Okay, let's see how this option will work. If I select both layers by pressing and holding the Shift key and then left click, we have selected both layers. And now just click here on the little icon to create a new group. And now we have created a group, and we have here layers in this group. Okay, now if I select the layer option, we see we can move the layer that we want. And if I select group, we can move the entire group that have all the layers within this group. And that is very, very cool. Okay, next we have Shown Transform option. This option will allow us to resize a subject or rotate it. We can see here a box will appear around the subject, and we can click and drag it to reshape to anywhere. We can also rotate it from the corner. When I hover over my mouse, now it is converted to a round arrow, and we can rotate it anywhere we want very easily. After the rotation or resize of subject, you can then press enter. We can also check this option off, and we can press Ctrl and T to get this option, and that is very, very cool. Okay, next we have the alignment option. We can align our subject. We can align on the top, center, bottom, left, horizontal center, and the right side. Okay, to use this option, first we need to select all layers in the menu bar. Click on Select and All, or press Ctrl and A for a shortcut key to select all layers. Okay, now we have selected the layer, and we can align the subject by choosing an option from above one by one. And that is very, very cool. After alignment, we need to deselect the layer. Click on Select and deselect from here, or we can press Ctrl and D for the shortcut key to deselect the layer. Okay, in this exercise, we have learned the Move tool, and in the next exercise, we will learn about the Artboard tool. In this exercise, we will learn the Artboard tool. Basically, the Artboard tool is used to create different pages in a specific window page in Photoshop. It is the best tool to select specific sizes for a website page, or different mobile app pages in one document window. This tool is also very, very helpful to create print material. For example, business cards, brochures, or banners. We can create front and back, or many pages of brochures. Okay, let's see how this will work. Let's right-click on the Move tool, and here we can see the Artboard tool underneath the Move tool. And here we have a V shortcut key. Here we will need to press Shift and V to switch on this tool as a shortcut key. Okay, let's select the Artboard tool and press left-click on the mouse and drag it, something like that. We can see here a new artboard is opened and the background is removed. In the layer panel, we can see we have a different type of layer that only shows us an artboard layer. Okay, on Artboard, we can see we have the plus sign icons on the top, bottom, left, and right side. This means we can add more artboard pages here. Okay, let's click on the right side artboard plus sign. We can see we now have 2 pages, and we can create more and as many as we want. We can also create on the top side, right side, and on the bottom side. All pages will have separate layers in the layer panel, and we can hide and show any pages by clicking on this eye icon in the layer panel. Okay, now let's look above at its control options. We can see here we have different sizes of pages for specific use in iPhone models, iPads, MacBook, and iOS. There are many options here. For example, you may want to choose any here, and after selection of the size, just click on here. Add new artboard icon and anywhere to add. And we can also adjust width and height, something like that. Next, we have page landscape option and portrait option, and we can choose any option from here very easily. Okay, next we have the alignment option. We can align artboard by selecting 2 or more artboards by pressing and holding the Shift key and selecting any artboards that you would like to align. And we can align on the top, left, side, and bottom. These are all a nice option to align pages. Okay, next we have gear icon option. Let's keep all these checked on by default. These artboards are very helpful to create multi-pages in Photoshop. Basically, these options are used in other Adobe software like Adobe Illustrator, and now Photoshop CC has introduced this option in the latest version. And that is very cool. Okay, in the next exercise, we will learn the Marquee tool. In this exercise, we will learn marquee tools. Basically, marquee tools are used to make selections in images. Let's see how these tools will work. If I move my arrow key on Tools, and here we can see the rectangular marquee tool. If I right-click on it, we can see that M is the shortcut key. And we also have elliptical marquee tool, single row marquee tool, and single column marquee tool. We don't have shortcut keys for the single column and single row marquee tools because these are not usually used in Photoshop. The rectangular marquee tool and the elliptical marquee tool are mostly used for the selection of any part of an image. Okay, let's select the rectangular marquee tool to see how it will work by pressing M on your keyboard. And now, click and drag your mouse to create a selection. We can see we have created a selection, and we can move around it by clicking inside of it. If I single click anywhere, the selection will be erased. Okay, if I press and hold the Alt key and drag it again, we can see it is now creating a proportional selection, and the center point will be where I clicked and dragged my selection. Something like that. Okay, if I press and hold the Shift and Alt key, and then I click and drag, now we can create a perfect square shape. Okay, if I click and drag to make another selection around this boat, for example, and press Ctrl and C for copy, and press Ctrl and V for paste, we have made a selection in a separate layer. Now we can just hide this layer to see the results. Okay, let's undo that. And now we can see above its control options. I will tell you about those later. But first, let's see the elliptical marquee tool now, because both tools work the same, and their control options are also the same. Let's right-click on the rectangular marquee tool and select elliptical marquee tool, or to use the shortcut key, press Shift and N to select this tool. Okay, now, let's click and drag. We can see we have made a selection. And if I press and hold the Alt key and then click and drag, you can see where I started my selection and its center point. We can drag around it. If I press Shift and Alt key and click and drag, then we can see we now have a perfect circle. Now, if you press Ctrl and T for transform and move it, we can see we have a cutout selection. Press Enter and Ctrl D to deselect the selection. Perfect. Now let's undo that by pressing Ctrl and Z more times to make it default. Okay, now let's talk about both control options. We can see we have all the same control options, but the elliptical marquee tool has an anti-alias option. Keep this checked on. Anti-alias helps us to create smooth and nice selections around the edges. Okay, let's select the rectangular marquee tool. And we can see we have some options above. We have new selection, add new selection, subtract to selection, and intersect to selection. Okay, let's make a new selection here. Click and drag, and choose Add option. And now click and drag on it. We can see here we have added the selection on it. We also have a shortcut here. We can press and hold the Shift key and then drag on it. And we have the same results. Okay, next we have the subtract option. Just click and drag on it. We can see we have subtracted the selection. And if I press and hold the Alt key and drag, we have also subtracted it perfectly. Okay, next we have the intersect option. Just click and drag. We can see we have perfectly intersected the area where it is selected, and the remaining area is removed. For a shortcut, if I press and hold Shift and Alt, and then drag, then we have intersected it perfectly. Okay, you're doing amazing. Next, we have the feather option. The feather option is used to make edges in a selection softer. It just blends the edges by making a selection. All right, now let's increase the feather and make a new selection here. Press Ctrl and C for copy and Ctrl V to paste, and let's hide this layer. Now we can see the edges are very soft. It is the perfect option to make soft edges in the selection of an image. Okay, next we have style options, and we can choose fixed ration. And let's put any size here in width and draw a selection. We can see it is just a fixed ratio of selection. We can adjust it, or we can also switch the width and height by clicking on the double arrow key in the center. And now we have a fixed size ratio. We can put any specific ratio. Just click on it and move it, something like this. All right, next we have select and mask option. We will cover this option later. Now, let's see the anti-alias option in the elliptical marquee tool. If I check this on, create a circle, and press Ctrl and C for copy, and Ctrl and V for paste, and then just hide this layer, zoom in to see the edges, you can see the edges are very sharp and smooth. Great. Okay, let's undo that now. Now check this off and create a new selection. Press Ctrl C and Ctrl V for paste, and let's hide this layer and zoom in. Now you can see the edges are very jagged and not smooth. So always check the anti-alias mark on for smooth edges. And that is very, very cool. Okay, in the next exercise, we will learn the lasso tool. In this exercise, we will learn the lasso tool. Basically, the lasso tool is a freehand tool that is used for random selections. The lasso tool is a very useful tool to make selections in an image. Okay, let's see how this tool will work. I have opened an image. You can also download this image in the exercise files. Okay, if I move my arrow key on the tools bar, we can see here the lasso tool. If I right-click on it, we can see L is the shortcut key. Okay, I have selected this tool, and let's try to make a selection here. Let's click and drag the mouse around this flower, something like that. And you can see we have made a selection. We can press Ctrl and C for copy and Ctrl and V for paste. And let's hide this layer. And now we can see the selection image. Okay, let's undo that. Now we have some control options above. Add new selection. So let's draw a new selection here and choose Add New Selection, and then click and drag on it to add new selection. We've also got a shortcut key. Just press and hold the Shift key and drag on it, something like that. Now we have the subtract option. Just choose this option and click and drag. You can see it's perfectly subtracted. For the shortcut key, we can press and hold the Alt key and then drag for subtract. Okay, next we have the intersect option. If I click and drag, something like that, you can see it perfectly intersects the image. For the shortcut key, press and hold Shift and Alt and drag to intersect it. Okay, next we have the feather option. The feather option is used for smooth edges and for blending. We have already learned about this in the previous lecture. Okay, next we have the anti-alias option. Just check this mark on. It is basically used for smooth edges. And that is very, very cool. Okay, in the next exercise, we will learn the Polygonal Lasso Tool. In this exercise, we learn the Polygonal Lasso Tool. The Polygonal Lasso Tool is basically used for selection by making a straight line selection. Let's see how that will work. If I right-click on the Lasso Tool, we can see the Polygonal Lasso Tool underneath the Lasso Tool, and we can press Shift and L to select this tool. Okay, we have a signboard image. Let's try to select this image by using the Polygonal Lasso Tool. Let's zoom in to see closely by pressing the Control and plus sign. Okay, now if I left click here one time and release it, then you can see we have a straight line to draw on another location by clicking a second time. Okay, if I press and hold the Shift key, then you can see the line making a specific angle. Something like that. Let's press the Delete key now to undo that point. Okay, now let's try to select this yellow sign here. Okay, if you click here and click here, and now we can see we have a round shape, but my tool is the Polygonal Lasso tool that creates straight line sections. But don't worry about it. If you press and hold the Alt key and left click and drag the mouse, you can see that we have temporarily switched this tool in the Lasso tool, and we can select the round area. Maybe it's not perfect, but I want to show you how that will work. Okay, we can also press and hold the space bar here to drag your screen. And let's click here.
and here. And don't worry that it's not perfect or something like that. You may make a mistake and click outside of the area that you don't want. Just press the delete key many times and it will remove the click points. So let's complete this section. Something like that. Okay, and here we can see there's a little circle option, and that means to join the edges and make a selection. Something like that. And now Control C for copy and Control V for paste. Okay, now we see its control options. I think we have already used this option in previous exercises. It is the same option. Let's try it on your end. Okay, in the next exercise, we will learn the Magnetic Lasso Tool. In this exercise, we will learn the Magnetic Lasso Tool. The Magnetic Lasso Tool is basically a selection tool, and it works like a magnet. It makes a selection by snapping to the image edges. It is also the perfect tool to cut out any subject in an image very quickly. Let's see how this works. Okay, if we right-click on the Lasso Tool, we can see the Magnetic Lasso Tool underneath the Polygonal Lasso Tool. For your shortcut key, press Shift and L to select this tool. Let's zoom in. Okay, now if I click one time and drag the mouse around this image, you can see how fast it is making a selection. It is not perfect, but you can see how quickly it is making a selection. Okay, if I try again to make a selection, if I click and drag my mouse a little bit away from the edges, you can see it is not selecting the edges. So how can I fix that? We need to use the control option above. We have the same tools as we did previously, but we also have another control option that we need to use. Now we will talk about width contrast and frequency options. Okay, the width tool is basically used to control the magnetic level. That refers to how far our magnetic tool needs to be away from the edges to detect the edges. For example, if we increase the pixels, something like that, and try to make a new selection, let's click one time and drag the mouse away from the edges. You can see it is detecting the edges perfectly. If we go too far away, it will not work. Let's try again. Click and drag around the edges. Now we can see this area is not going to be selected because this area has too much of a similar color to the background contrast to fix. And now we have to increase the contrast, something like that. Let's try again. Now, we still can't select those edges. We need to choose a frequency option. Let's make the frequency 100% and try again. Now we can see this is almost perfect. Now copy it, Control and C, and paste, Control and V, and turn off this layer to see how it looks. you can see it is a really nice cutout. It may not be perfect, but it is quick, and that is very, very cool. Okay, in the next exercise, we will learn the Quick Selection tool. In this exercise, we will learn the Quick Selection tool. Basically, the Quick Selection tool will make a selection by finding specific area edges in an image. And this tool is frequently used in Photoshop because it's the best tool to select and cut out a subject from an image. Okay, let's see how this tool will work. If I move my cursor on the toolbar, here we can find the Quick Selection tool. If I right-click on it, we can see we have a W shortcut key. Okay, let's select this tool and demonstrate how it works. If I click one time, we can see it has selected an area. Okay, deselect it. And now, if I click and drag my mouse on an image, we can see we have selected all of the image very quickly. Okay, let's try and select our coffee cup image. Now, zoom in a little bit by pressing Ctrl+ keys. And now, press W to select this tool. If I zoom in a little bit more to see the edges, we can see that some area is not selected. We can select this area now. We can see that almost all of the subject is selected. We can now cut out that subject. Press Ctrl and C for copy and Ctrl and V for paste. Let's zoom in and we can see our subject is perfectly cut out. Okay, now let's talk about its control option. Just delete the subject by pressing the delete key and turn on image layer. We can see above we have three options there: new selection, add to selection, and subtract to selection. And next we can increase or decrease the size from here. Or for shortcut keys, press the right and left bracket key. Something like that to adjust the size. Okay, if I click one time in the subject, we can see our subject is selected in a specific area. Also, you can notice that above tool is switched into add to selection tool. So now, if we want to add a new selection in this selection, we can add selection to select all subject. And next, we subtract option. Just click on it, and then we can subtract it. Okay, if I press and hold the Shift key, then our tool is switched into the Add section, and we can add. If I press and hold the Alt key, then we can subtract it. Okay, now we can adjust the brush size from here by pressing the left or right bracket. Okay, next we have the Sample All Layers option. If you make a selection from the other layers, then check this on. And next is an Auto Enhance option. Let's check this also on. Okay, in the next exercise, we will learn the Magic Wand tool. Learn the Magic Wand tool. Basically, the Magic Wand tool is a useful tool to select simple and similar color areas in the image, but it is not perfect for complex selection. Okay, let's see how this tool works. When I right-click on the Quick Selection tool, we can find the Magic Wand tool underneath the Quick Selection tool, and W is the shortcut key. We can switch these tools by pressing Shift and W on the keyboard. Okay, now I have selected this tool. If I click on the white background of the image, only the white area of the image is selected. You can also notice that there is a shadow area that is not selected along with the coffee cup because it is different or not similar to the white color. Okay, if I click inside of the coffee, something like that, we are only able to select similar colors in a specific range. My opinion is that that is not a very useful tool, but for simple color, it is the best. Okay, let's deselect the image by pressing Ctrl and D. Now let's talk about the control option panel above. We are already familiar with these options now. Okay, let's see how quickly this will work. If I click on a new selection and click here, I've made a selection. If I click on an add to selection and click, we can see a selection is adding when we click. Okay, next we have subtract a selection option. And if I click and click here, we can see it is subtracting the area where I am clicking. Okay, next we have intersect selection option. And you can see it is intersecting the area where I click. Okay, let's deselect that. Next, we have sample size control option. And we have point sample. 3 by 3, 5 by 5, 11 by 11 average. 101 by 101 average. Okay, if I click on point sample and click here, we can see we are selecting the point where I click. It is basically a range of selection. For example, if I use 100 by 101 average and make a selection, something like that, we can see we are selecting a big area. Okay, deselect it. Okay, next we have tolerance option. The tolerance option is about increasing and decreasing the area of selection. If I increase the tolerance, something like that, and select any area, I have selected a big area in one click. Okay, make it sample point and decrease the tolerance. Okay, next we have anti-alias option. Let's check this on. Okay, next we have contiguous option. If I check on and click on the image, let's zoom in to see a better view. If I click on something like there, the area now selected is contiguous. If I check this mark off and then click, we can see it is now selecting the area that is similar to that color. Actually, tolerance is about how much area we want to select, and the contiguous option is about similar color selection. Great. Okay, in the next exercise, we will learn the crop tool. In this exercise, we will learn the crop tool. The crop tool is used to crop images within a specific area that you want to crop, or we can expand the area of the image. Okay, let's see how that tool works. If I move my arrow on the tools bar, we can see this crop tool here. If I right-click on it as we have expanded the tools window, we can see that C is the shortcut key. Okay, now I have selected the crop tool. If I click and drag on the square shape here, maybe around this little boat, and press the Enter key, now we've cropped this image. Okay, now next, let's try another way to crop this image. Let's undo that by pressing Ctrl Z on your keyboard. Okay, now select the crop tool again and click one time on the image. And now we can see that we have a boundary around the image. If I click and drag from the corner, something like that, and from this side, something like that, now press Enter for your crop. You can see it is now cropped perfectly. Okay, now let's undo that. Let's try to expand the area of this image. Let's click on the image by selecting the crop tool and click on the side of the area and drag it away to increase the size. Something like that. And we can expand from the corner of the image. Something like that. Okay, next, let's see its control panel options first. First, we have a ration option. When I click on it, we have different options that are already in a specific size. We have width and height ration. If I click on it, we can see it has selected to crop this image by 8.5 inches by 11 inches. But we can also change its resolution, something like that. And we can see we have cropped this image by adjusting its resolution. If we want a high resolution image, then we can increase it. Or for lower resolution images, we can decrease it. Let's undo that. And next we have ordinal ratio by square, 2 by 3, and so on. Okay, we also have new crop preset option, and using this option we can save this ration according to our ration size. Okay, for example, if we want to save ration 3 by 4, then let's go to the ration panel and click New Preset. We can put any name here and press OK. And press the Escape key to deselect this ration. And now we can see we have saved the selection. Actually, this option can be useful if we have a bunch of images that we want to crop in the same ration. Okay, next we have Clear option. Just hit Clear and our ratio will be removed. Okay, next we have Straighten option. Let's see how this works. Okay, if I select this option, for example, I want to straighten this sky, and then click on this point and drag to this point and hit the Enter key. Now we see the image is straightened. If I click on an image by the crop tool, okay, next we can see the grid view options. If I click on image by crop tool, we can see here we have different grid views: diagonal, golden ration, golden spiral. These options can be helpful if we want to crop in specific design aspects. Next, we have Auto Show Overlay, Always Show Overlay, and next we have Cycle Overlay, and its shortcut is O. We can see it's changing the grid view by pressing the O key. Next, we have the Classic Mode option. And if I tick this option, you can see it shows the cropped area and the Auto Center Preview is turned off. Okay, if I select the crop tool and click on an image, the image is not going to select. Okay, and if I click and drag, then I can view it. Okay, let's press the Escape key then, and then you uncheck this option. You will see the image will have a selection area, and we can crop it any way we want. This is the best option in my opinion. Okay, next we have the Enable Crop Tool option. Okay, select the image to crop it, and then we can change the color view of the image area that we want to crop. You can see it's changing the background color. Okay, next we have the opacity option. If I increase the opacity, then the image of the background is dim other than the selected area. Okay. Next, we have the Auto Adjust option. This is actually useful to adjust the area of selection. Okay, next we have delete cropped pixels option. Let's check this off. For example, if I check this on and crop the image, something like that, and later I say I don't want to go back to crop it, or I want to crop it just a little bit, then I can't go back. Okay, undo that and check this off and crop the image, and then you can adjust its size perfectly anytime. Okay, if you want to hide the area selection, then press Ctrl and H, and press Ctrl and H again to reveal it. Great. Okay, in the next exercise, we will learn Prospective Crop Tool.